Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elevating Your Life. Paula Vail here, and we are going to have a great time today. I have a guest joining us for the second time. We had such a fantastic time the first show. We have to do another one. We have with us today Carmen Turner-Schott. She is a practicing licensed clinical social worker, astrologer, writer, and teacher with a national and international clientele. She has been working as an astrological counselor with victims of trauma for over 25 years. And she is the author of multiple books. Today, we'll be talking mostly about sun signs, houses, and healing. But just happy to share her with you. So first off, welcome, Carmen. So happy to have you here today.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, I just love it. I love it. Well, I would love to give the audience a bit more of your background and kind of what triggered you into first starting studying astrology. What did that for you?
Sure. So it all really started when I was around 16. I had some, strange experiences that I couldn't explain. Let me say, spiritual experiences. I was always very spiritual and imaginative, and I loved angels, and I used to collect them, and I was just kind of born this way, and I was a little bit different than the rest of my family. I wasn't raised to be interested in these things, but it's like I had like an inner knowing. But I had this very powerful experience when I was 16 with a glowing ball of light in my doorway. I woke up one night and I had played a basketball game, came home, and I always had to have my bed where I could face the door and the door open with the nightlight on. And I saw this glowing ball of light about the size of a softball, yellow, white, translucent, floating in my doorway. Well, at the time, I was afraid. And now looking back, I wonder, it could have been an angel or it wasn't anything negative, but it's the fear of the unknown. And I had no voice. I couldn't move. I tried to yell for my mother and nothing would come out. And I just watched this thing, and I knew I was awake, and I kept closing my eyes and opening my eyes, and I was awake. And I watched it go down the hall and come right back. And I kept just saying in my mind, please don't have it come in my room. And I was praying, and it never did. It just stayed right in that doorway. And I finally yelled for my mother, and it released me or whatever. My voice came back, and I'm like, Mom, do you see it? It's in my doorway. And she said, yes. And for the first time, my mother saw something that I saw, or because I used to dream things and wake her up in the night, and she'd say, just a dream. It's just your imagination. And I would sleepwalk. And I would do these things, and I never understood why. And I even, probably forgot of all the things I've done. But that glowing ball of light was the first thing that made me think, wow, I want to learn more. So I started studying about angels and energy, and I got my first astrology book. Yeah, I thought, okay, I'm born August 26th. I'm a Virgo. So I went to this little mystical bookstore in St. Louis, Missouri, and I bought my first astrology book. And I always was interested in psychology and counseling. I wanted to be a counselor. I wanted to help people. I wanted to go to college, to be a social worker, psychologist. So I had that interest because I was taking an introduction to psychology class my senior year. So it all just kind of came together. But I bought that book, and it validated all of my experiences. And I realized I had a lot of 12th house and 8th house planets, which I have a lot of research on. And I think I was on before on the show about my 12th house book, Mysteries of 12th House Fallen Angels. But really my love of astrology started with basic astrology, just learning the basics, understanding people's personalities. And I started using astrology as a tool of self-awareness to learn more about myself, my gifts, my strengths, and also other people, my relationship partners, my colleagues, my coworkers, my supervisors, right? My family, and just really learning as much as I could. And I started doing astrology consults at the age of 19. And it just became part of my, like, a second job, a hobby, and a great passion of mine. So I've always worked a normal social work job. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a counselor. I've worked a lot with trauma victims for the past 25 years, and children. I started out with children and teens. I love kids, but I've worked a lot with with people that have had different types of trauma, whether that's, sexual assault, domestic violence, childhood things, or, witnessing violence, and PTSD, things like that, anxiety. So I'm also an alcohol addictions counselor. So I've worked with, addictions and doing groups and helping people overcome addiction, which is really a 12th house astrology thing. It's in my book about that. But this book I wrote because I'm always teaching people the basics about their sun sign. When I'm at work, I'm like, oh, you're a Leo or you're a Taurus. And I instantly click with certain people, or I have certain, abilities that I sense people's energy. So even if I'll say, are you a Taurus? And I'm like, yes. How did you know that? I just kind of feel it, it's energy. Astrology
Yeah,
is energy, just
love
like
it.
everything is. And it's amazing how those traits come out at work, when you're working with people and when you're talking to people. And I can start picking up a few signs, and then when I get their birth date, I'm able to really know their sun sign. So I wrote this book as a basic tool for anyone to learn astrology, because a lot of people tell me they shy away from it because it is complex. It's a symbolic language. There's a lot of symbols. There's a lot. You could spend your whole lifetime studying astrology. I'm still learning, and I've been doing this for 25 years. And
Wow.
it's something that you never get bored with. That's why I love. There's medical astrology. There's locational astrology. There's the psychological astrology, which is what I do. And then there's like really advanced like predictions and timing of events, there's so much you could just specialize in, so many different things. So that's what I've specialized in, is the personality part of it, and really using that as a tool to help myself, get along with other people. And I will say, as a social worker and working with people, I typically can get along with anyone. And what it is that I get to know them, and I get to know their chart and their sign, and then I know what they like, what they don't like, right? And I'm able to joke them a little bit, right? And have that fun. So I love getting to know and working with people, and doing personality strengths and test. When you work in teams and in team building, we do like the 4 lenses, which is a personality tool, Myers-Briggs, True Colors, which are all about what kind of personality are you, gold, green, blue, or orange, and that's exactly what astrology is, the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. And those energies have a certain personality, just like these psychological tools that people have designed to teach teams and businesses and corporate organizations about how to team build. Right? It's
Yes,
just
yes.
it's amazing. And so I always try to relate it to that, to make astrology practical and a very not mystical or weird or new age. It really is a psychological tool, and it's amazing. It's just like any tool that a therapist can use. This is something that I believe is deep and profound and powerful. So I try to teach people about their strengths and what they can do to become resilient. And that's what my book's really about. And Sun Signs, Houses, and Healing is about how to become more resilient, how to transform, which means how to adapt to change and the unknown and crisis, and then how to become stronger through that, and utilizing your sun sign traits that you're born with to do those things, and how to heal and how to do self-care. So that's really what this book is all about, giving tips for each sign, each of the 12 signs.
That is so great. So this book, someone that really may have little knowledge of what it's all about, this book will give them steps
Yes.
to delve in and understand themselves and their life better.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It's this is what it looks like. Sun Signs, Houses, and Healing. Each chapter is dedicated to one of the 12 signs. So as long as you know your birth date, month, and month and day, what sun sign you are. So it's Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So there's 12 signs, and they're based on a day and month, month of the year. And so everyone born on August 26th, for instance, which is my birthday, is a Virgo. Well, my husband's born the same day. So we are both Virgos, but he's 5 years older and born in a different city, state, and time than me. So our charts are very different, even though our sun sign's the same. So the sun is just your main identity. So it's where I want people to start learning more about astrology, is the basic sun sign. And once you kind of get that, and in my book, I have an introduction that goes through the symbols, what all the planets mean, what all the houses in your chart mean, what all the signs, personality traits are, and then how to get a free chart, how to do it, what you need to do it. And it's very basic for anyone off the street to read this book and understand how to do their chart and learn more about themselves and their family. They can look up all their friends' signs. And in each chapter, I really wanted to dedicate the basic, strengths of each sign. And then I want to talk about how they transform, how they become resilient, what things help them heal, from illness, maybe where are their vulnerabilities health-wise, when they're stressed, or if they go through struggles, where does that manifest in their body? Because, every sign rules an area of the body and has different tips for that. And then how does everyone self-care? Because every sun sign will do self-care in a different way. And as a therapist, we always talk about self-care, that if you're in the helping profession and the healing professions and you're dealing with people in any way, you have to have your cup full before you can keep helping other people, or your cup will get empty and you'll get burned out or have compassion fatigue. So we have to fill our own cup so we can then fill others' cups, right? I like that quote. And that is so true when you're in the helping professions. But most people that do this kind of work, they don't take care of themselves. They're givers. So they're constantly helping other people and giving. And this book will give tips for each sign of things that help them fill their cup. And so fire signs, air signs, water signs, earth signs, they're all gonna they're all gonna benefit through different self-care activities. If you think about it, fire signs and air signs, they like movement. They like to be on the go. They like to be thinking, learning, moving, going out and doing things, action. And so it might be hard for them to sit still and meditate for 10 minutes and still their mind. They'll laugh at me when I tell them that, right? When I have a client that's a Gemini, for instance, they're like, no, my mind never shuts off. I cannot relax, right? So what can we do to help them heal and do self-care? Well, they said they like to be moving. They like to be outside. Okay, go hike, go for a long walk, right? Go drive in the car, listen to music. Those things can be healing and self-care tips for Gemini. And playing games, mental games where they can challenge themselves. To them, that might be relaxing. Now, to me, that would stress me out because I'm a Virgo. So I like to be home, and I like to be comfortable, cuddle with my puppy, have some good food, something I like, my hot tea, and maybe read a book, right? To me, that's self-care, and play some, special music or just sit in silence and meditate. I like that. But some people can't do that. So this book is for all of those clients and people I've met that have told me that normal self-care activities don't work for them. So I have some tips, and I kind of had my theory about this that spurred the book, was that it has to do with the elements. What each element, has 3 signs in it, because there's 12 signs. And those elements each do self-care differently. And that's kind of what spurred the idea of the book, because a lot of people I talk to, I ask them, what do you do for self-care? And I asked a lot of these people in a leadership class I was in that are, really famous in their field and CEOs, and what do you do for self-care? And they said, I really don't do anything. I mean, we each, the classmates got to ask a question, and they're like, I'm not good at that. Because they're workaholics, or they're just always doing something, and they're not taking time for them. And they said, I really need to do better at that. And I realized, wow, these successful people that just own their own companies and do all that, they still struggle with self-care. So I think we all could do better with taking care of our own energy and replenishing
And
ourselves.
these tips that will help us know, because of our astrology, what areas of self-care will bring us the most self-care. That is fantastic.
Yes. Yes, I really wanted to do this because I saw how different everyone was. Because, you know, when I remember when I first started meditating years ago, I couldn't still my mind, you know, and I know some people that are very always thinking, always analyzing, or restless energy, you know, like I know a lot of people that can't sit and just watch TV. They have to be moving all day outside in the yard doing something. I have, you know, some family members that way. They don't like to sit. They either in their car driving or out doing yard work all day long, moving. So those folks will have, they're not going to benefit from the same way I'm going to benefit with relaxing and what's going to invigorate me. They're going to need to do things that invigorate them. And so I found that that really has to do with your sun sign and what element, you know, your sun sign is: fire, air, earth, or water. And so I talk a little bit about that in the book. And that's kind of where I got the tips. And affirmations. I give positive affirmations for each sign at the end of each chapter that has to do with that sign, of things that they can read, and some ideas for them to print a flower petal with petals, hang it up at their desk with different self-care things they're going to do, and to hold themselves accountable. So that's in the book as well.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Thinking positive and utilizing their strengths and overcoming, you know, challenges, and not getting stuck on the weaknesses. You know, every sign, every person has weaknesses, and we all have strengths. So focusing on those strengths and making astrology something fun that anyone can read about and understand it. And that really was my goal of writing this book, because you know, sometimes, you know, astrology can get complex, and I don't make it complex. My goal and mission is to make it, teach it on a basic level, very simplistic, to make people interested in learning more and not being afraid of learning it. So that's kind of my goal with writing astrology books, is to make it basic for everyone.
Love it. And that is going to do so much for so many of us, you know, to learn those basics.
Yes.
And I bet there is a lot of fun in that learning. What has been one of the funnest things for you in what you've learned? I mean, I can imagine.
It's so fun to me when someone, I don't know them at all, and when they give me their information, and I start talking to them just like I'm talking to you about their personality, and they're like, how did you know that? That is me. You know, and the shock, you know, I think it's fun to see the shock on their face. I said, it's your chart. It's the map of your soul. You know, I'm not making this up. You know, this is a science. This is energy. This is something that's a tool, you know, just like, you know, Myers-Briggs and these other personality tools. It's the same, and they're pretty accurate. You know, if you take assessments, or, you know, like the 5 love languages, a lot of times people resonate with, you know, 2 top love languages. It's the same in astrology when I start analyzing, but I think it was fun learning all the symbols, because I really couldn't do charts until I knew all the symbols. And I would rewrite and draw all the planet symbols, all the sign symbols over and over again, and memorize that. So that way, when you look at a chart, when you go to astro.com, you can do a free chart, and it's going to be all symbols. So you're not going to really know what they all mean. So as an astrologer, you have to learn these images, these symbols, and memorize them. And I'm a very visual person. So some of the planets were easier to know what they were, but drawing them was difficult, because in the old days, I used to do charts by hand. So I didn't have computer technology that does all the math and calculations for me. I used to have to get rulers and draw the wheel, draw the aspects, draw each planet symbol. And I started out, and it was fun learning it, but now I can say it's so much easier and fun and nicer to go on my computer program, put everything in, and I don't have to worry about the math or any of the intricacies, because it would take, you know, days to do a chart. Now I can pull a chart up within 5 minutes and do a couple at one time and get them calculated. So it made, I guess, our jobs more efficient when we got into more technology and people created these computer programs, that could do the calculation.
Carmen, myself as an energy lover, being the Reiki
Yes.
girl and the energy and all that. So
Yes.
what I'm thinking, and I'd love to ask, so here we have our 1 year calendar. So where we in particular, are born and come into our physical life, is it these sun signs, everything? Is it also is it like what energies are around us? What planets or
Yes. So that's a good
that work?
question. So when each person has such a unique chart, even twins, if twins are born, 2 or 3 hours apart, the moon sign could change, which is their whole emotional nature, which is, the moon rules the tides of the ocean, it rules our emotions. So the moon sign is the second most important thing that astrologers look at. The sun sign, moon sign, those are the two, and the rising sign, which is the sign that is on the horizon on the first house cusp when you're born. But to have an accurate chart, you have to know what time you're born. But if you have your time, place, date, and year, what we do is we look that up. So for instance, if you're a Taurus, you might know other Tauruses too that are born right in Taurus, but you might have a lot of planets that are in Pisces or that are in the 8th house. And that's going to change everything about you. And I would think, that would make you more interested in healing, in energy work. There's certain things in your chart, which are energies that are going to make you attracted to certain career fields. You're going to have certain gifts like Reiki energy.
Maybe why I love Reiki.
You do, because your polar opposite sign is Scorpio. So one thing in basic astrology is every polar opposite sign, every sign has an opposite sign in the sky when you're okay, always. So Taurus and Scorpio are polar opposites, which when you hear the word, you think that means they're different. They're actually similar. So polar opposites are both compatible elements. So Taurus is earth, Scorpio is air or water. And then so earth and water go together in nature, right? That's why they're compatible. And you're both fixed signs, which in astrology, we have fixed signs, cardinal signs, and mutable signs, which is energy. That it's all energy. So mutable, if you think of that word, you would think easygoing, can go with the flow. That's what mutable signs are. They can kind of change direction, and change doesn't disturb them as much as it would a fixed sign. Fixed signs like structure, order, and they don't like chaos. They like to know what's going to happen, and they're very organized people. So Scorpio and Taurus share that same fixed energy, right? Even though one's earth and one's water, Taurus is not going to be known to be as intense and emotional as a Scorpio, but you're going to be on a continuum. And I call it like ABC. Okay, like you start here, like here's like a ruler. Here's Taurus, here's Scorpio. There's going to be some sun sign Tauruses, they're going to be right here. They're going to feel a little bit like a Scorpio and Taurus. And they're going to be drawn to Scorpio fields, which is, guess what? Energy work, Reiki, pranic healing, anything deep psychological change and transformation, intuition, helping people, all of these things, being a motivator, a therapist, a counselor, a healer, right? All this, because that's Scorpio energy. And Tauruses are connected to the earth. They're an earth sign. So Tauruses are known to have a green thumb. They like the outdoors. They like nature. They're calm. They have a calm energy, where Scorpio has a very intense, secretive energy. So it's like you have traits of both. And Scorpio will have traits of Taurus. So sometimes when I meet a Taurus, I can feel Scorpio in them. Or I meet a Scorpio and I'll feel Taurus. So I'm like, you're either Scorpio or Taurus. It could, and because the polar opposite is always in there. And I'm that way. I'm a Virgo, but my polar opposite is Pisces. So I know I have Virgo traits, but I definitely have a lot of Pisces traits. I like my alone time. I like solitude. I like to withdraw and not have to worry about anything and listen to music and be peaceful and be imaginative and creative and right. So, and I love all those things, and helping people with their problems. That's Pisces, right? And Virgo as well, but Virgos are known to be more critical. And I've always been more, opposite of that. I have a lot of I'm more of like in the middle of that continuum of my polar opposite.
Yeah.
And we also share the same health vulnerabilities of our polar opposite sign. So Taurus rules the neck and shoulders, right? And the jaw. And so that's where the tension comes for Taurus suns, is that neck and shoulders and the jaw, right? And all that. And then Scorpio rules the female reproductive system. Anything with reproduction, the ovaries, the cysts, the uterus, the elimination system, the colon, the bowel, all of that. And so Taurus and Scorpio share those vulnerable areas. So when they get stressed, or with health and diet, whatever, that tends to be where they get illnesses. And there's a whole medical astrology field that you could spend a lifetime and you would never learn it all. I mean, there's so much, but I know the basics.
That's spot on, because that's what I've dealt with in my life is
Yes.
neck pain.
Yes.
And I'm a Taurus.
Yes. It is.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's really kind of eerie. Like some people get a little not scared, but they're like, how did you know that? Because I'll say, I'll pull their chart and I'll tell them, because they'll ask me a health question. I'm having some health issues. I'll just start telling them what I see. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's going on with me. That's because that's their vulnerable area. Wow. And it's, and it's in a great quote. You can look up 2 pictures of art, historic art of Hippocrates, who was the father of medicine. He said, a physician that doesn't know astrology is not a physician, but a fool.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, Carmen, I could listen to you for hours. It's so fantastic. We have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Time zooms by. Please share a last few words and maybe your website. This is so fantastic. Thank you for this book.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My book is Sun Signs, Houses, and Healing: Build Resilience and Transform Your Life Through Astrology. And my new website is www.carmenturnerschott.com. I got a new website. All my books are on there. I have a blog with all my old articles and a way to contact me, and all my radio interviews and interviews about my books are on the media page. I teach online workshops. If you want, an astrology workshop, I do that for a lot of different astrological organizations, but I'm here to teach just basic astrology and help people see it as a valuable, practical tool that can be used at work and with your family and in the world, and not to see it as something that is just, your horoscope in the paper each month. It's not just that. It's deep, and it's so powerful, and it's a very much a healing tool. So I really appreciate you having me on today to talk a little bit about my great love, which is psychological astrology.
Oh, this is just so fantastic. This is so exciting, Carmen. I love it. I love it. These fantastic books. Real quick before we go, do you think you'll be writing another book?
I am. I have 2 more books coming out next summer. Yes, I'm excited. I'm going to have Moon Signs, Houses, and Healing. And that it's from Lelowin as well, the same publisher. Moon Signs, Houses, and Healing will come out in May of 2023. And then I have, I'm really excited about this book as well. And then it'll be all about your emotional nature, how you feel, how the full moon affects you, how you gain emotional strength, how you can heal, and it'll go through what house. You can look up all the basics again. What house is your moon in, just like in the Sun Signs book, what that means. And you can look up all of the information, self-care tips, affirmations, all of that. And then my second book is called Phoenixes and Angels: Mastering the 8th and 12th Astrological Houses. And it's both houses combined in one book. And I think a lot of people that have planets in those 2 houses, they're the most spiritual houses in our chart. They bless us with spiritual gifts, insight, and intuitive abilities. And I think if you have planets in either of those houses, you would love to read Phoenixes and Angels. I'm excited about it. It's coming out this summer too, I think July.
That is so great. And
it's on my website. It's available for pre-order. Both of them are actually out on Amazon.
This is so great. And I'm like you. I love the angels. I'm writing my second book about it. I'm really excited. Oh, thank you,
Can't wait to read it.
It's so great. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Love, hugs, and blessings. Carmen. Thank you so much. Love, hugs, and blessings. I'm so excited to learn more. Okay, bye,
you.
everyone.